I am. Well, welcome to the 2,388th meeting of the Darien Police Commission. I have been told, since I was not present at all of those 2,388 meetings, that this is our very first virtual meeting. But we are trying to stay at home and social distance, so we have 3 people here, and we have our 2 captains on the phone, as well as Commissioner Cunningham. So I will call the meeting to order, and first, acceptance of minutes of March 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are good. Correspondence. Chief?
I do have some correspondence here. One, a letter from a resident, unfortunately, whose car was stolen. But they just wanted to express their appreciation for both Officer Perone and Detective Diorio, how they handled the case. So it was very nice for him to take the time to send that to us, and this will be part of their personnel file. A copy of the correspondence is in your folder.
Yes.
Thank you to that resident. And I have another piece of correspondence, but we're going to discuss that under traffic issues when we get there, because it is traffic related.
Okay. Department activity?
I'm going
You were gonna do
to punt into cyberspace to Captain
Oh.
Marin.
Okay.
Good afternoon, all. It's a little on the lengthier side because of the length of time since we last met. However, our call volume has been pretty low, so hopefully we can speed through this. On March 2nd, a 58-year-old Brooklyn, New York man was arrested after he attempted to make a fraudulent bank transaction at TD Bank at 55 Post Road. On March 3rd, Darien resident reported that outgoing checks were stolen from his mailbox on January 23rd. On March 6th, the 35-year-old Stanford woman was arrested for DWI stemming from an accident she was involved in on Post Road on January 27th. On March 9th, a Darien resident reported that 2 checks were placed in his outgoing mail and were subsequently stolen from his mailbox. March 10th, 64-year-old Darien man arrested for his role in a domestic violence incident. On March 11th, a member of the YMCA reported that 2 credit cards and 1 debit card were stolen from his wallet, which was left in an unlocked locker while he was using the facility. Fraudulent activity was noted on his accounts and cash had been withdrawn. On March 12th, shortly before 10 p.m., a 17-year-old from Darien was arrested for DWI after his vehicle left the roadway and crashed on Millwater Lane. On March 14th at 3:45 p.m., 40-year-old Bridgeport man was arrested for DWI after he was involved in a minor accident on Tokenique Road. March 20th, a 50-year-old Darien man was arrested for his role in a domestic violence incident. March 25th, a Darien resident reported unusual financial activity on her bank account. Transaction involved a fraudulent check. March 28th, approximately 4:30 a.m., Bob's Furniture and Gun Exchange was burglarized. It was later determined that nothing was missing. March 28th, a 29-year-old Darien man was arrested for his role in a domestic violence incident. On April 2nd, a 50-year-old Darien man and a 41-year-old Darien woman were arrested for their roles in a domestic violence incident. On April 5th, a 27-year-old Stanford woman was arrested for her role in a domestic violence incident that took place at 150 Ledge Road, Darien. In the period of March 3rd to April 6th, we had 17 burglaries of unlocked cars, 1 burglary of a locked vehicle, which involved the forced entry of breaking a window, 5 stolen motor vehicles that were unlocked with the keys inside, and we only had, in that same period, 15 motor vehicle accidents. 5 involved minor injuries, and none of them involved pedestrian effectiveness. That is it.
So have we seen a decrease, a lighter, anything with everyone inside?
Call volume across the board has dropped dramatically, as we expected it to. Motor vehicle collisions, thankfully, I think we had 1 today, but before the 1 today, which was minor, we had 1 in the last week, and we only had 3 in the last 3 weeks. So if you drive around town, you can see that the traffic is down substantially, where we're not getting the collisions, which is a silver lining to this whole thing. I think, by and large, people are trying to obey the rules and stay home and creating distance and riding this thing out. So our call volume was manageable, our staffing is manageable. I'm thankful for both of those.
We will get to more of that.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, old business, traffic issues.
Captain Shredders, do you want to start off on traffic issues? We got
Due to the last couple weeks with the virus,
we've had a lot of, obviously, increase in pedestrian traffic, so I had a lot of complaints about speeding, and people were worried about pedestrians getting hit. So we did deploy bollards at various streets in town, Holmes, Andrews, Prospect, Raymond Street, Cliff Ave. So we're beginning with that. And just that's about it, really, just complaints about speeding. And, you know, again, as the chief put out in his memo, for civilians to obey the rules of the road as far as walking in the roadway. We've had issues with that, a lot of complaints about that. So other than that, it's been quiet.
I don't know who's watching, but can we take this opportunity to remind people, I'm happy to do it, or Chief, you can do it, of what the rules of the road are, and
I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay.
If people are watching on TV or hearing this recording. On our webpage as well, there is a document that spells out the rights and responsibilities of pedestrians and bicyclists and motorists. And the main thrust of my idea was if everyone takes an extra minute to try to give the other guy a little bit of a break, we can all peacefully coexist. Right? As far as pedestrians are required to walk on the sidewalk if a sidewalk is provided. If you're on a road that there is not a sidewalk, you're required to walk against traffic as close to the road as practical, so you can see traffic coming towards you. I mean, walking with your back to traffic is just inherently unsafe, especially if you're pushing a stroller or you have earbuds in or you're watching a video or talking on the phone. So please walk against traffic. Bicyclists must obey the rules of the road, much like a motor vehicle. They have to obey red lights. They have to turn from the proper spot in the lane. They have to ride the bike as close to the right as they deem safe. Bicyclists get a little more latitude, right? They don't have to be as far right as possible, but it has to be as far right as is safe. And they leave that up to the bicyclists to determine, so they can move out a little bit, say to not go over a storm sewer grate. Still, you have to obey the rules of the road. Motorists, you have to peacefully coexist with bicycles and pedestrians. You have to use all due care to avoid striking a pedestrian or a bicycle. Even if you're 100% in the right, you still don't want to strike a pedestrian or a bicycle. So if everyone takes an extra few minutes, especially now that it's getting nicer and we have this thing we're dealing with, we just have to take a little bit of extra time here, and I think everybody can peacefully coexist.
Would I be correct in saying also in terms of protocols for bicyclists that if it's at all busy, they should not be riding two abreast?
Right, the state statute allows bicycles to ride two abreast, no more than two abreast. But you cannot ride a bicycle two abreast as to impede traffic. So you can't have one bicycle 3 feet into the road and one bicycle out by the center line. You can't do that. Bicyclists do have some responsibility here to be aware of traffic coming up behind them and to not impede the motor vehicle traffic. To my point again, I think reasonable folks can make reasonable actions here so cars can get around you. Some of our streets, it's very difficult, right? And I find it even in a police car sometimes, an unmarked car, that I'm patiently waiting behind the bicycle who might be going down Pear Tree Point Road. I'm in no big hurry. I want him to clear the corner before I come around. Right. And they're waving me on like I'm doing something wrong. I don't want to go by them around a blind corner. So a lot of times I'll flip the light on, we'll have a conversation about why I'm doing what I'm doing. So yeah, they cannot impede traffic. Pack bicycle racing and riding in Darien is not lawful, and it's just not safe. And we do see it. We see folks out 15, 16, 20 bikes at a time. Right? This is not a bike race here. Our streets are not equipped to have 15 or 20 bicycles taking up the entire lane, impeding traffic. Reasonable measures is what we're looking for.
Thank you.
Well, I think I've seen less than the 10 or 15 packs more than two trying to maintain their social distance, and that is, but if people, it will go a long way if people walking will go all together against traffic, because one person coming the other way and it sends everybody crossways on the roads. So we don't suspend all the rules because we're trying to social distance, although we are trying to social distance as well, so it is a balance. But
it's a balance.
If we can start with that, that would help. Obeying the rules as already on the books, would be a good start. Any other?
So on the traffic issue, we do have a correspondence here from a resident of Andrews Drive. This resident, we've been in contact with for quite some time on traffic and speeding on Andrews Drive. We have deployed, I think as Captain Shredder said, the traffic bollards back on Andrews Drive. Andrews Drive is not alone, right? We're getting complaints on a lot of streets in every neighborhood and every part of town. And we try to be as responsive as we can to everyone to try to keep an issue on the perceived speeding problem on everybody's street. So bear with us if you have issues on your street. Right now, our traffic officer has been redeployed back into the patrol division because of COVID-19. But if you send an email to the traffic division, it'll get to somebody at some point that will respond back to you within a day or two, and we'll do everything we can to address the issues. Andrews Drive being one of them, that the bollards are out there, I believe.
Okay. Anything else on traffic?
I think we touched on the memo that I
That
put
is
out.
all.
Okay.
Just remind people, especially on Pear Tree Point Road, walking single file is close to the side of the road is the most helpful thing, especially in that area. That's a very bad area for pedestrians walking.
Yeah, and it's only gotten more crowded, especially in the afternoons, I think, but single file. It is not Darien's Waveney, where you can take over the road. Okay, New Roten Presbyterian Church Road event.
That is a Captain Marin through cyberspace again.
Captain Marin.
Thank you. I touched base as recent as this afternoon with New Roten Presbyterian staff. They are still basically in a holding pattern. They believe that if things are obviously still in quarantine, they will not have the event. And they're kind of just taking it one day at a time. They did, however, secure the property in the corner of Post and Nearwater, the Roten Fire Department property, kind of to hold their event if needed and when they choose to do it. But it looks like at this point will be very little involvement from the police department or the commission.
Okay. Stay tuned. Any other old business? New business. COVID-19.
All right, so this is kind of the main reason why we're sitting here today and why people are hopefully tuning in live or watching this on tape. I just want to say on behalf of the men and women of the Darien Police Department that we're very appreciative of our residents obeying the rules, the reasonable rules that we've asked them to comply with, to try to stay home if they can. I think they've, by and large, been doing a good job at that. Again, very, very thankful for businesses and some of our partners here in town from different services that have provided meals for the police department on an ongoing basis. We're well-fed with good food, by and large, many, many days of the week. And, I've thanked in writing all the merchants that have done that for us. Very appreciative, and it just goes to show the relationships that we do have with the businesses and other organizations in town. So as far as the police department goes, we're well-staffed. We have one officer out ill right now, but he's COVID-19 negative. We did have some officers in quarantine, as the commissioners know, because of potential exposure. We have had no officers test positive for COVID-19. I think we're better than where I thought we might be at this point, a month down the road into this. We have redeployed the school resource officers and the traffic officers back into the patrol division to ensure that we have sufficient staffing to cover our shifts. It is possible that at a moment's notice we could have an entire 4 or 5 member shift all have been exposed to somebody at a call that was COVID-19. So by having that little bit of latitude with the extra personnel, we have had a good run on not having to order staff and start burning staff out by having to work every day, and have a little bit of wiggle room to not have to bring people back on overtime, to not incur that expense. So staffing-wise, I think we've done a fine job to ensure that we are here, we're available like we always are to respond to any emergencies.
Do we have enough protective?
Yeah, we are pretty well stocked with protective gear. Wipes are a little bit difficult to obtain, but through some Radar O'Reilly horse trading, we usually have somebody out there who owes us a favor, and we've been successful to have that. Gloves were good, we're stocked at. We're waiting on 100 pairs of goggles that can be cleaned, issued to our staff, and Captain Shredders can probably talk to that, but I think we're hoping they're gonna be here this week or next. So PPE and keeping cars clean, and we've had a couple cars sanitized at the Darien Foreign Car Clinic. Although they're closed, they will do a sanitizing, deep sanitizing on the cars for us if we, had someone in the car that maybe was tested positive. Money well spent to keep our fleet up and running. Our civilian staff, we're on a truncated schedule with them. They don't work every day, and the days that the civilian staff do come in, they work only as long as it's essential to get their essential work done. We're thankful, very thankful to our building maintainers, Frank Sierra and Tim Iannacone. They are essential, and they do work their full shifts each and every day, keeping the building sanitized and clean for us. I know our officers are
Great.
very appreciative of that. Our building is always clean as a whistle, but these guys are going above and beyond right now to try to keep our staff, safe and illness-free. So I give them a big shout out. I
If people
appreciate
come
their
down to the police station, is
Well,
there a protocol?
Yeah,
for-
we have put into place, we did have one officer who's just about to be cleared off of light duty, but what we did, we brought that officer in, one of our sergeants, and we're taking a lot of reports that we can over the phone. At least the initial reach out to the people. So it's been working pretty well. And we've also developed a follow-up procedure where we're going to send the folks a letter, or they can go on our webpage and give us feedback on how this went, right? Do you think you were still offered a reasonable and fair level of service, and did it solve your issue? So maybe this is the wave of the future. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they always say. So we're doing a lot of things that we can do over the phone. The governor has relaxed some rules. I can even notarize things remotely, electronically right now, where you can't do that usually. The person has to be in front of you. So there's a couple ways to skin the cat, and so far, so good. We haven't had any major investigations that require hands-on or require, staff to be on scene. So hopefully we can keep that going till we're through this. It's kind of funny for us. It's strange for a police department like ours that is so engaged with the community to now to have to pull back where, you can't stand and talk to somebody in a deli or the coffee shop for a few minutes. You're just not supposed to do that.
Right.
Well,
So
they're not open either.
It seems kind of funny to go into Dunkin' Donuts, you get your coffee and you get out. There's no talking. Or Mama Carmela's Deli or the Exxon station where the officers get their coffee. I think our officers are doing a good job trying to distance, but to not be unapproachable to the point that people think we're not here, because we are. 24/7, as always, staffed to give you the level of public safety service that you're expecting.
Great.
Nope, I appreciate it. Anything else on kind of the catch-all of COVID-19?
One other thing that I would...
Commissioner, if I could just jump in real quick.
Yes.
On some of our protocols. Just to touch on what the chief mentioned about the survey that we're sending out after we take reports over the phone. It's actually an email that's going out first, followed by an invitation to complete the voluntary survey. And we're just looking for input on what we could do better over the phone, what worked, what was difficult for our residents filing a report, and what they might expect more of in the future. And we're going to kind of compile that data and work off of it. And like the chief said, maybe this is something we put in place on a more permanent basis. And then just a quick note to let people know, we do have numerous in-house protocols implemented right now to try and keep everyone safe. Not only our officers, but also, the community that we deal with. On a couple of occasions, we've had officers that have been exposed to people that were COVID-19 positive, yet our protocols that we've had in place really minimized any kind of quarantine we need to do, where it would just be the specific officer who was actually quarantined and not any of his peers or colleagues that he might have had contact in after the fact. And I contribute to the protocols we have in place that kind of minimize all that.
No, I appreciate it. It's so far so good,
Yeah,
what we've done.
Even in-house in the department.
Yeah.
The captains and I, we keep our 6-foot distance.
Right.
We've instructed all employees who work in the building to be in their work areas, stay in their work areas if at all possible. We're keeping people out of the communication center and the records room unless it's absolutely imperative, you need to go in there. We're modeling what we're preaching at this point, and it has worked so far for us. So we do have good protocols in place.
Great.
Agreed.
One more thing on COVID-19 before we flip that page. I just could reiterate that most things in Darien right now are closed, right? The beaches are closed to vehicular access. Darien High School now is closed to vehicular access. All the amenities and fields and playgrounds and tennis courts are closed. So we would ask that people abide by these rulings of the public policy makers of the town and please stay away from these locations. Can you walk through the beach? Yes, you can. You can't gather with more than 5 people per the governor, and you should be maintaining social distance. But the amenities and the playgrounds are closed, and I know everyone can see why. Because if you went to the playground with your son, and then a family with 4 people came, they can't play on the playground unless you're no longer in compliance. Well, how long is this family going to be there? They've been here for 20 minutes. It just doesn't work. So for
Well,
right,
and you can't disinfect the playground
Right.
after this family, and you've broken the family stay-at-home quarantine.
the good thing here in Darien is we're not on the street corner or on the tenement steps. We have other options for people to recreate with their families, right? That's the best case scenario. Stay home with your families, help us help you. So far, this has worked. Let us do what we need to do, and so far, I think it's been working pretty well.
If people either forget or want it detailed or read it, can they go, it's on the town website is all of this? Is it on our website? Where can
If you
people
go-
get all of the?
If you go on the town website, there's now a COVID-19 related tab, where it's collating all press releases and all documents from all town departments in one-stop shopping. Whether it's a police department press release, Parks and Rec, P&Z, you get it, anything COVID-19 related. The ladies in the selectman's office have been very diligent in keeping that up to date and available to the public 24/7.
Got it, all right, town website. If anything else comes back, I'm happy to circle back, but I will move on to the fire department parade.
You have a document in your packet from Bob Bush and Mike Vitti at the Norotan Fire Department. Their 125th anniversary parade they're requesting. Do either Captain Marin or Captain Shredders want to jump in and take this?
Sure, I can take it, no problem. Fire Marshal Bob Bush and Mike Beatty of the Norotan Fire Department are requesting to have a parade for their 125th anniversary on Friday, June 25th of 2021. They're really trying to get their logistics in line here. They don't want to go too far, so they are looking for our permission to even move forward with it. They did have their last parade for their 100th anniversary back in 1996. The tentative plan is at 7 p.m. on the date I just mentioned. They're going to convene with numerous other area and other town fire departments at the Darien High School and travel south down Norotan Avenue to the parking lot entrance of the Norotan Presbyterian Church. Obviously, that would require several staff from our agency to coordinate at the intersections that they would be traveling. They're anticipating 20 to 25 fire departments being involved from the area. Each fire department, they're expecting approximately 20 marchers and 3 pieces of apparatus, a marching band, and they're going off of numbers that they had on their 100th anniversary parade back in '96 to come up with the figures for next year's event. So they're prepared to hire whatever number of police officers and traffic agents deemed necessary and we would request. And obviously that's going to involve the I-95 exit ramp and some other areas that we're going to look closer at. But preliminarily, they're looking to move forward with put things in motion for their parade.
I know it was 24 years ago, but were there any issues with it in 1996 as anyone was around? Don?
I was there, and no, there was no issues. I can support this request from the fire department. I believe it can be effectively managed. It does not require a state DOT highway use permit because in no way, shape, or form does it cross or use a state-controlled roadway. I don't see any real issue with state police blocking off exit 10 in both directions for maybe it's going to be a half hour for the parade just to get through that section. I think we can effectively manage this. Like 125th anniversary comes along once. The fire departments do a great job for our municipality. I think this is something that we should support, and I believe the Board of Selectmen would support it as well.
I am curious as to why it would be on a Friday instead of a Saturday, given that Friday at 7 PM, it's still borderline rush hour.
I marched in a lot of fire department parades in my life, back to the point when I was in high school in the marching band, and historically, it's always been on a Friday night. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it usually is. We can find out from the fire marshal as to why Friday is better than Saturday.
I don't know, Friday, 7 PM though, better than Saturday is, I don't know, I'm not the traffic.
Well, I'm just curious, because there'll be people getting off the train right there. It's rush hour. If anybody's been stuck on 95, on a Friday evening, it's not very pleasant. It's just curious. I'm not going against it. I'm just curious as to why Friday's better than Saturday.
We would have staff there to have all train lot parking operators would go out the other way. And again, just the time frame for that parade to go through between Heights Road and Maple Street is really the time that will only be a little bit problematic for that. And I can't imagine that the entire parade would take more than a half hour to get through that section. We leave it open until, we
Right.
leave that open until they get to West Avenue.
right.
So we can manage it. It's
Well, there's certainly
better than
lots
US
of-
1.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, there's a lot of ways to get around that area. Are you looking for a motion?
Yes, please.
I will move that we approve the Norotan Fire Department 125th anniversary request.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Kevin?
I think he's.
There you go. Awesome. Community Fund of Darien Road Race request.
Again, I think I'll punt to Captain Marin. This is the road race that happens every year. I think it's the same date every year, or at least the same weekend. I don't think there's anything new, Captain Marin, unless you know of something new that would preclude us from approving this once again.
It looks like almost identical to the last couple of years. Community Fund of Darien has requested permission to conduct the 41st running of the Darien Road Race on September 13th. A 1.5 mile course and a 5 mile course would use the same route as they have the last 2 years. From the after action reports we've completed for those 2 previous events, we've had some couple adjustments to make, nothing major, and it's gone smoothly the last 2 years.
I have no issue. Anyone?
No,
Well,
it's,
I was not here on the first running of the 41st.
Fine.
Close, but no cigar.
I walked with my mother this year, so I was there. Motion to approve the road race request from the Darien, Community Fund of Darien on September 13th.
so moved.
Second, Kevin, aye.
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 Last, false alarm count request, items for coffee with a cup. Captain?
Anybody in cyberspace, as far as what the actual items are? We do bring items to coffee with a cop, either cups or pens or things to give to the
These are just
seniors.
things to give out at the,
Right. We also do it with the seniors when we do coffee with the seniors.
Cups, pens, and stickers, I believe.
we just need to replenish our supply.
Yeah, it's gotten very popular. Our events are very well attended, especially the last one being held at the library.
With the
And
dog.
Officer Silva, who kind of spearheads our events there, has let us know that the initial swag, if you will, items that she had acquired are very low in supply, and we would need them for the next event when that can take place. It's up in the air still, obviously, but she's asking for an order of pens, coffee with a cup, police officer pens, junior clip-on badges, and then a new item, a retractable banner that indicates what the event is that's being held. Comes with a carry case, and she, after it was tabulated up, they're looking to use about $800.
I make a motion that we approve $800 for Officer Silva to replenish her supplies for coffee with a cup.
So moved.
Second, aye. Kevin? Everybody?
Aye.
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 Okay. That is the end of the agenda, and it's a special meeting. I don't think we can add anything else.
we cannot add anything, but I just want people to know who might be watching this, that if they have questions about COVID-19 or they have questions about the police department operation during this time, feel free to reach out to me. If I don't have the answer, I will get to you, to my staff member who can give you the answer. So, again, we are here 24/7, as always. We stand ready to respond to emergencies. Non-emergencies, we're doing it a little bit different, but we're still here to provide the service that folks expect.
Indeed, you know where to find us all, we're home. And our next meeting, I think regular schedule was next week, which seems awfully soon. So the one after that is
Our next,
hopefully after we are allowed to,
our next regularly scheduled meeting would be May 6th.
do you anticipate us needing to meet before then?
I don't see anything in the significant queue list that we couldn't go to May 6th. In the event that something does come up, we can adjust, but I think
Okay,
we can go to
well,
May.
why don't we get back on our regular meeting schedule, which is May 6th. Again, hopefully we will be back at the police station and not doing this remotely, but we will keep everyone abreast.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody on the phone.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.